All right, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in today to Lions Talk Live Morning Show Edition. Hey, we're on here 7 days a week talking all things about the Detroit Lions, talking about free agency, the draft, and everything in between. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. A couple things, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail. If you weren't aware of this, the Sports Illustrated put out a piece yesterday. Was thinking about doing a live on it yesterday, but I figured hey, this time of year, trying to get a little bit, starting to get a little bit dry as far as information and things to talk about. So I thought maybe it'd be better just to wait until today, this morning's episode of Lions Talk Live to talk about it. But Vito Schritto from the Sports Illustrated put out his latest mock draft 4.0. And if you guys haven't had a chance, you can go over there and check it out. It's under their All Lions section. But he does reference something we talked about earlier this week on Lions Talk Live, that he was aware that the Lions and the Indianapolis Colts have been in conversations about a trade. I know we reported it earlier this week. The Lions and the Rams had been chatting, even went into some of the details pertaining to the pick. He gives a little bit more information on at least what he's under the impression. Now, I don't know, to be fair, I don't know if this is something he was told from his, people, his source or whatever, or if this is just speculation on his part. But he does give details in regards to what he thinks it's going to take for the Lions to move from 29 to 15, and we'll get into that in just a second. But real quick, before we get into the meat of today's video, just a couple things. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're about roughly 40 subs away from hitting 6,400. Also, if you like the video, if you could help me out a ton, you want to give me a nice, Sunday morning present. I'm trying to get the video to 200 to 250 likes. As you guys probably are definitely aware, that gets the video out to more and more new users, and it helps out a ton. So I'm out here working 7 days a week for you. Hopefully you can help out just by hitting that little button. All right, and then last but never least, just because outside of being a YouTuber and a coach, I am a realtor. Try to speed through this real quick, but if you're looking for property to buy or sell anywhere in the state of Michigan, you see my number on your screen. You can give me a call or shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. Let me see if I can help you save some money either on the purchase or sale of property. All right, with all the formalities out of the way, won't bore you too long with that stuff. Let's get into today's morning show for Lions Talk Live. And you know what? We've been talking about on the show for a while now. The Lions have 7 picks. Are they going to be able to keep everybody? Yes, in the mock draft I ran this week, just what would I do? Best, guess what Brad Holmes is going to do. I had us trading back not once but twice to acquire a number of picks, but then trade up to try to get really the strength of our draft to be around basically round 2 and 3. We're going to be able to, in that scenario, we're able to bring in, I would say 3, maybe 4 very targeted players, and then a bunch of players late in the draft, 6th, 7th round, that were probably developmental project types that, at least in my opinion, strong upside, but you could put them on the practice squad. And realistically, you didn't have a bunch of people breathing down your neck trying to steal them away. And that's the way I chose to go with it. But as we've been talking about for a while, I just don't think there's any realistic chance the Lions are going to be able to keep 7 drafted rookies, at least if they do what they normally do in the draft well, winning I guess you could say on draft day. Can you do that over and over again without teams stealing your players if you end up having to put a few on the practice squad? I don't think it's a realistic expectation. And apparently in SI's report, sort of like we were speculating with the report earlier this week on Lions Talk Live, I don't think so either. So this is what they have as far as the prospective draft, or the trade, I should say, for 15. So Sports Illustrated is reporting that the trade could be Detroit gives up, here's the full details, the 29th overall pick this year. Then pick number 20, their second round pick in 2025, along with a 5th rounder in 2025 as well. That would move Detroit up to the Indianapolis pick at number 15. Now, me, myself, and I, it seems a little rich for me. I'd rather make this package happen for Denver and go after, Surtain Jr., but, they didn't ask me. If we were to go through with this trade, I guess if if I'm Brad Holmes, I'd say, that's a little bit much, but we'll go ahead and do it. The only thing is, on top of that 15th overall pick, I'm going to need you to give us in 2025 maybe like a 6th and 7th rounder, just so we maintain the same amount of picks. It's just obviously they're where they're at in the draft. Now they're going to go with the Lions then selecting Quinion Mitchell from Toledo with the Toledo Rocket. We all get him. Dude's got a lot of upside. If you don't know a ton about him, he's considered one of the top corners in this year's draft and maybe one of the best prospects in recent years. Now, he's still got to pan out. A lot of people have high expectations for everybody drafted. It doesn't mean you're going to be all world, all pro, etc. Going to get a gold jacket or whatever. But he is 6 foot. He is 190-ish pounds. He had 19 pass defense each of the past couple seasons. He also grabbed a total of 6 interceptions in his final 2 seasons in college. Now, if you paired him up with Davis and Armstead, among others, I think that Lions secondary potentially looks pretty good. But here's my question to you guys. Let's just assume for the sake of discussion and for today's video that you make this trade happen. I don't like giving up a next year's 2nd round pick, but hey, if you think whoever you're going up to get is that guy that's really going to impact this year's team and just take it to the next level, who do you think we should go get? I came up with a couple ideas. Jared Verse was up there, and I know you guys heard me talking about him in my mock draft. Latua from UCLA. Hey, I might be a USC guy. I might despise everybody who goes to UCLA. But at the end of the day, you're worried about Detroit Lions, not USC. So he could be another possibility. Let's see what you guys have to say, though, as I'm sure the comment section is moving and shaking. Let's see what you guys got to say. Would you make this trade? Also, if you did make the trade, who would you go after? I think we're probably going to have a wide range of opinions on this one. All right, Michael Green, salutations, coach and Duke crew. Woo! The first woo of the show. And good morning to you, Michael. JDC, morning all. Morning to you. Robert G, good morning. Dan of the Duke crew. How you doing, Robert? Hopefully you're having a great day, my friend. Michael, it would be interesting who Brad Holmes has his eye on. Yeah, that's the tough part. I know we talked about this a little bit in yesterday's show when we were mentioning Rex Ryan, and then maybe in other episodes too. I love the idea of having an outstanding defense. I do. I just think so many of the rules now favor offense. That went into my head, at least when I ran my draft, what I would do. And I know the first couple rounds I drafted offensive players because I think there's a growing concentration on the offense because those are the guys you got to have in order to win. The defensive guys, I think it's almost getting to the point, hey, I just need people out there who can make plays occasionally because the math suggests that it's getting harder and harder for defensive players to shut down offenses because the rule changes, where you can hit them, where you can't hit them, how you can touch them, all that kind of stuff. I think there is a growing thought process in the NFL, and maybe you could even say in the UFL, where we want the bulk of the vast majority of the strongest players to be on the offensive side of the ball. And then we just need guys out there who can occasionally make plays because that's realistically all they're going to be able to do is occasionally make plays. That doesn't mean there aren't some rare players, but hey, let's see what you guys have to say. All right, Robert, his eyes on the prize, 100%. Yeah, Brad Holmes is, I think if he makes this move, it's because he believes the Lions really are there as far as ready to win the Super Bowl, ready to win not just this year, but I think maybe even a year after that. And hey, to me, if they just get to the Super Bowl, I'll be pretty dang happy. But yeah, I guess if you're going to get there, you might as well win it. Just what do you got? Good morning, Duke crew! ! Coach, I'm going to give it to you straight. At times, I used to feel you stretched a story for views. After seeing this yesterday, I told myself you've been ahead of the curve like 5 or 6. I guess I don't understand 5 or 6. Oh, okay, sorry. Time since I began watching your show, it's now clear to me you do have some inside connections. So props to you, brother. Hey, no worries about that, man. I mean, one thing I learned a long time ago as a journalist, man, if you break information, if you get it out, let's just say a day before everybody else, that's going to draw, raise some eyebrows. If you get it out a couple days before everybody else, I'm guessing there's a lot of people on YouTube, and just using this example, that probably don't stick around very long just because some of the haters, or whatever you want to call The only thing I can say is, man, if you're in the journalism game, it's probably no different than being in any other profession. You start getting to where you've done something for a few years, you get to know people. You do it for a decade, you know more people. You do it, in my case, I guess I started somewhere in the late 80s. So a lot of those people stay in industries, and you guys all get it. You've worked in different jobs. Most people, you get into your career, you stay in that career. You don't really venture out the different ones. So because of that, if you just get to know people, you don't upset them, they become friends, they share info. So you're going to get some right, you're going to get some wrong, you're going to take mud to the face sometimes, but it's just part of it. I enjoy it. I do this for fun nowadays. I don't do it for a living, but I still have some good friends, and hey, when they slip me something, I try to slip them a good stock tip or something like that back. Kind of one back washes the other, I guess you could say. Scratches the other, maybe. Whatever it is, whatever the saying is. Hookadoo. Good morning, Dan and Do Crew. Good morning to you too, Hookadoo. Hopefully you have a great one. Clark, great salutations all, exclamation point. I read that article, but wasn't a fan of what they expected we would give up to get the 15th pick. Seems kind of high. A little bit. Like, I probably would be better with it if it was a third rounder or fourth rounder along with the first, and not a second round pick next year. But same point, if it ends up being a bidding war for that 15th pick, you want it. Who's going to pay me the most if I'm Indianapolis to get it? And that's where, where it comes down to. What point do you feel like it's too much, or hey, I'm okay with doing that? All right, Trump, woo, 100%. Good morning to you too. Trump's got to be a starter. I'm going defensive end. Yeah, I would say that. The only way you're making this particular trade and move up is if you feel like you're getting somebody who's impacting the roster now, not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now, but somebody who's coming in and doing something now. All right, 70, good morning, boys. Let Brad do what Brad does, 100%. And you know what? He does it well. Is that still you? Good morning. Not a clue who Brad sees as potential down there. Yeah, me either, man. And you guys, you saw the thumbnail. I put out a couple of different ideas with Latua, Mitchell, Verse. But, I mean, there's other ones. I mean, there's Jackson Powers Johnson. I mean, there's a couple other guys that I would think that would make sense for this year's Detroit Lions team. Polar Bear, Terry Arnold, and Quentin Mitchell. Yeah, Quentin has more upside. Whew. Yeah, I would say that's probably about spot on. Arnold is not bad. I mean, neither one of them are bad, right? I'm just with you. I think Mitchell just has more upside because as he gets more exposed to some different techniques, types of receiver, assuming he doesn't lose his confidence, assuming that he is well coached and put in ideal situations to succeed early in the career, then I think that's where you can really see him blossom and take off. So, yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with that. Doug, just heading back to bed. May take my headphones or sleep. Same ones as yesterday. Best player available at offensive line, wide receiver, edge, cornerback. They need nothing else in first. They know their roster this year, next, and Detroit board. Yes, and the Detroit board. And that's one thing I'm going to, you guys have kind of talked about it for a bit. I think I am going to try to do like a war room simulation, or at least a kind of a little bit of a dive into it this week or maybe early next week before the draft. Just, if you guys have questions about it and stuff, we can address that in the show live. But again, trying to find some stuff that maybe isn't just, hey, who are the Lions going to take? Who are they going to trade up for or whatever? Because I get there are so many channels doing that stuff and so many different reporters, I guess you'd say, handling it, that as viewers, I'm guessing that gets a little older. One thing I did notice when I was doing an open house in South Haven yesterday, I was kind of going through some of the comment sections, responding back between customers coming through the open house. And one thing I did see in yesterday's video is there were a lot of people thankful that the story about Rex Ryan wasn't draft related, because I do believe there's starting to get to the point where people are getting a little burnt out on the draft. They're just ready for the draft to be here. So trying to think for you guys some ideas that aren't draft material. All right, Robert, let's see. How about J.C. Latham, offensive tackle from Alabama? Yeah, not a bad call there. What do you think, Coach Dan? Robert, I think it's good that you bring that up, because when I did my mock draft, I actually thought about going offensive tackle. Don't hold me to this. I want to say it was like a third round or something like that. Just because I do think there is a need. But you also see comments from the Lions yesterday talking about Scoresdale and Broderick Martin, how they think they're getting better. They have a lot of faith in them. And of course, you'd expect that organization to say that. They just think that, maybe they need a little bit more time to, develop. And maybe these guys are closer than we are anticipating. If we go into the NFL draft in a week and a half or whatever it is, and we don't address the offensive line early in the draft, I think that's a huge statement that the Lions think, no, we're good. We're going forward with what we got. We're focusing on other things. Maybe it's defense, wide receiver, whatever it is. So I don't know. I like the idea of getting some younger players on the offensive line, Robert. I think it's needed, but the Lions are in a real good situation where they can go any which way they want. And we get that. We've all talked about it. Dave at Jesse Lynn, I've noticed this too. Okay. Robert G, maybe Jared Verse. Yeah, you guys heard me talk about him when I did my draft or whatever. I think the kid can bring it. I think he can. It's just the problem I had when running my draft, and I like the idea of trading up. I really like it in the first round and the second round. If it was me, I would almost trade the house to get a really high or mid-level first round pick, a really high second, and then maybe some late sixth rounders or seventh rounders just to fill out other spots in the team, get some developmental players that you can groom. I just don't think a ton of players are needed on this year's team. I'd be very, very selective with who I brought in this year. All right, France, good evening, Motor City Dew Crew, exclamation point. This would be an aggressive move by the team, and that's what I feel is needed at this stage in the team's progression. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I was just talking about, is that, I guess unless you're looking at some of these guys in the, say, 10 to 20 or whatever range as not being impact players, if you really feel they're just going to be guys that are going to come in, players are going to come in that you're going to have to, slowly bring along, then I guess we're missing the boat, because I just don't see we're bringing in a bunch of guys this year and slowly growing them is really ultimately in the best interest of this team. You've got a window of opportunity, whether it's, you want to say it's 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it is, to win and win now the Super Bowl. I think you got to go in to, get those blue chip guys, whoever it is, the guys that are going to be playmakers. You can have the debate if that's going to be offense or defense or whatever, but I think you need to go out and get 1 or 2 playmakers. Get those people. And if you end up getting more, great, but get people that can come in and immediately improve the team. If all they're doing is treading water and keeping the team where it's at, not really helping it, hurting it, what's the point in them? With this year's team. In past teams, that's different. You need a depth, you need developmental guys, but that's not this year's team. And I don't think it's going to be next year's team. I think you are in it where you've got to be basically like use the LA Rams, skip the picks, get guys who can make plays, because we're that close. We're either winning it or crashing and burning. And that's where I think a lot of us seem to be trending towards with our thoughts with Lions. Whoever you bring in, especially that first and second round pick, those guys need to be able to come in and contribute right away and at a high level to help push this team even further up. So let's see what they do. Trump, no wide receiver. Fair enough. Dennis, good morning. Good morning to you too. Trey, what's going on? Not too much, man. Just hanging out with all my friends in the Dew Crew. Hopefully you're having a great one, man. Dr. Troy, Jackson Powers Johnson. Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense to me, because, again, nothing against Frank Ragnow, but we all get it. He's probably on some borrowed time, maybe 2 years at the most, at least this year. Taylor Deckard could be another person. And of course, you look at some of our guards too. Maybe the Lions are aware that they can get 2 more years out of Deck, or 2 or 3 more years out of Decker and Ragnow. But you do have 2 guards who are probably going to be starting. They're on 1-year deals. So Powers Johnson probably makes some sense there. All right, 9 Drinks, good morning. Dew Crew, back at you. Hopefully you're having a great morning, my friend. Dr. Detroit, give me Jackson Powers Johnson at 15. You know what? We'll put it in the books. We'll make it so. Good morning, Dr. D. Robert G. Latua should be around the 15th pick also. Yeah, I think who knows who's going where really in the draft. I mean, we can pretty much speculate that the first 10 picks are going to have, 4 quarterbacks off the board, maybe 2 wide receivers. So that's 6 picks right there. After that, wait and see what shakes out. But I think in the top 14 picks, which if the Lions do go up to 15, then you're worried about the 14 picks ahead of you. There's probably going to be only a few defensive players off the board, which if Detroit really wants to go defense or offensive line, I think the vast majority of the better options, either positions, positional groups, are going to be available to them. So it's going to come down to just small pieces here and there, really between this guy or that guy. Do I have a preferred person I'd go after? I do not. But I would say you're going to have a whole lot of good options if you're Brad Holmes to choose from if you do make this move up. And again, just make sure we're on the same page. I reported the story whatever day it was last week, but the bulk of today's show is based on what Sports Illustrated is talking about between the Detroit Lions and the Indianapolis Colts. I have not come up with new information. I'm trying to give credit where credit is due. It's not me. It's Sports Illustrated. So I do want to make sure I reiterate that point. All right, Man Bear, what do you got? Greetings and salutations all! Exclamation point. Rise and shine with the Dew crew, 100%, and good morning to you. Hopefully having a great one, my friend. Just say K, greetings and salutations on a Sunday morning. Getting down to the final week and a half before the draft. You know what? And everybody's starting to feel it, man. I'm telling you, we are getting pumped if you're a Detroit Lions fan. Robert G, there's many, many options at 15. And that's what I'm just saying, man. I'm not going to say we're going to take wide receiver, but you want a wide receiver, there's going to be some real good ones there. You want offensive lineman, whether it's guard, center, tackle, you're going to have your pick up a real good one. Defensive end, defensive tackle. I think defensive tackle, you can have just about anybody you want. Defensive end, who knows? You could probably get one of the top three guys, if not the number one guy. Cornerback, kind of the same scenario. You're going to have your options of any of probably the top three. Maybe one of them is off the board before you get there, but you're going to be able to get a real good one. Go down the list that you're going to be able to say that for about any position outside of quarterback and wide receiver. I think that the top quarterbacks, you get down to 15, there might be as many as 5 or 6 gone by that point. Wide receiver, probably 2, maybe 3. Phil, big storms here overnight. Hopefully you're doing okay, Phil. Hopefully that didn't disrupt you too much. And so far here, it's looking pretty calm. All right, 9 drinks. Donovan, Jackson Powers Johnson all day. And it looks like a firecracker. All right, very good. Or dynamite, I guess. So we'll go with that. Steve Rogers at 9 drinks. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'd rather us focus on offense than defense. Offense wins nowadays. Defense is a joke. It is getting incredibly hard for, I would think, to be a defensive coordinator and play in the NFL. But this is also why I think, we talked about it months ago. That's why I think the day and age of the lockdown corner is almost kind of behind us. You'll still have rare exceptions for sure, but they're rare. Most teams do not have an outstanding secondary. Look at the final 4 teams in the league last year. Kansas City. Is Ladarius Sneed a lockdown corner? I don't think so. I think he's a good corner. You could even say he's a very good corner. But I don't think he's a lockdown. Outside of him on Kansas City, was there anybody else that you thought other teams said, whoa, don't throw to that side of the field or he might get it? Detroit, I'm going to say we're all going to be on the same page with that. We probably did not have a lockdown corner, nor did we have anybody that made other teams sweat at night, game planning for us. The 49ers, though, same boat. I mean, they did not have anybody that probably made anybody, shake or wake at night. And you get the gist. I think most teams, because the rule changes and such, are altering how we play defense in the NFL. You're either going to have 4 guys up front that can totally get to the quarterback on their own and thus play zone coverage behind you so you can make it difficult for quarterbacks to throw repeatedly under pressure into spots while containing mobile quarterbacks. And you're waiting on that back 7 to be able to make enough plays breaking on passes to disrupt it, bust them up, create turnovers. Or you're going the opposite route, which I think Detroit basically went to in the last 2 months, where, hey, we're doing man-to-man across the board. We're going to blitz the bejesus out of you. We're going to hit your quarterback and get to the running back on the way to the quarterback. And you know what? If you throw a couple lame ducks or you're a little off, think of Jordan Love towards the end of the 49ers game. We're going to blitz you enough where you're throwing off your back foot. And we don't need a ton of bad plays out of you. We need 2 or 3 a game where those become game-changing turnovers. And that's how we're going to win. It does seem like that's the way football defense in the NFL is going. It's one of two ways, because you just can't play a safe defense, dink and dunk, we'll hold you at the goal line, because that stuff just with the rule changes doesn't seem to be as applicable anymore. All right, answer 14. Greetings, salutations, Coach and Duke Crew. Lions going to be aggressive in the draft, it appears. Can't wait. 100%. I agree with you, answer 14. I think this would be an outstanding move. Being aggressive, being assertive, sort of like I want the defense to be. Go after somebody, hit them in the face, and you know what? Let our general manager and front office do the same thing in the draft. All right, Quentin, greetings, salutations, y'all. I don't know who the heck we get, as long as that dude can ball. Just get some guys who can wreck stuff up. Don't need to be 8 dudes, just a few. I'll go with that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just a couple guys who can come in and make big plays. Michael, I think Brand Holmes will move up and take a wide receiver. All right, Michael, if they go up and get a wide receiver, which one do you want them to go get? Let me know, man. Robert G, anticipation, exclamation points. Just can't get to that song out of my head. All right, fair enough. I can't help you with that one, Robert. Matthew, greetings and salutations. Good morning, everyone. Super Bowl or bust, exclamation point. And woo, 100%. Good morning, Matthew. Doug, what do you got? Depends who is available. A lot of quarterbacks going. I'd say at least 4. I would agree. I think you're going to see a run of quarterbacks, maybe one of the better runs ever in NFL history, in the top 10 picks. A lot of guys out there, a lot of them can play. I know people are speculating more and more on J.J. McCarthy, that he's going to be potentially a number 2 or number 3 pick. I personally think he could be a top 15 pick. I do not think he's going to be number 2 or 3, but I've been wrong before. All right, Kurt, good morning. All right, good morning to you too. Rocky, good morning all. Good morning to you, Rock. How you doing? All right, 9 drinks. Sounds like Leggett could fall to us later. Well, that could be. I know some people are saying he could be a late first rounder. I've seen people say he's a 4th rounder. There does seem to be a little bit of a range on him. When I did, my mock, I had him going basically the 2nd round, just because I thought if the Lions were going to get him, they were going to have to trade up over a couple teams. It doesn't mean it couldn't be a little early, but at the same time, if you wait and somebody else gets him, and that's really the guy you had belief in, then you're going to regret it. So sometimes you got to overpay slightly to ensure you get the product you want. All right, Silver Server, good morning, Coach, and everyone else. I would rather listen to the show as long as they take home 1 or 2 very good O-linemen. I am okay. All right, fair enough. Yeah, then there ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Like we were saying earlier in the show, I do think that they need to potentially address the youth of the offensive line, so they don't have a situation where in a year or 2, if they haven't prepared for it, now there is a disastrous downfall in that offensive line. So I'd rather be forward-thinking than chasing from behind. All right, Dr. Detroit, Jackson Powers Johnson makes us relevant for 10 more years. I'd agree with that. The kid does. I mean, there's a couple interior offensive linemen that I think are in a rare group. He's one of them, and he could potentially be the best of them. Ed, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Back at you, Ed. Hopefully you're casting them straight and getting some good catches today while you're fishing. Answer 14, not sure how compensatory picks work, but do you think Lions would get one for Jackson or any other free agent we lost? I'm trying to think. Jackson would be, he was drafted in the 3rd round, so yeah. I can't think of anybody else that we lost that we would get one for. Pittman, probably not. Josh Reynolds, no. I'm trying to think who else we lost. Man, maybe it's just not coming to me, but I can't think of anybody else, at least off the top of my noggin. All right, Polar Bear, Robert G. Latua would be woo worthy. I'll go with that. Well played, Polar Bear. Robert G. Thumbs up. Rocky, trade up sounds good because 2 to 3 players lucky to make the team. So use the picks to move up. Yes, it sounds like a lot of us are on the same page with that. Dr. Troy, great year to rebuild the O-line. I would agree, man. Keep your strength strong, my friend. Ed, Lions need guard, edge, quarterback, another guard. Okay, so a couple guards, a quarterback, and an edge. Fair enough. All right, Dr. Detroit for the future. Yes, I agree. Might not need them a ton this year, but I think after this year, yes, you're going to need them to come on in. Mr. Nico, Brad, the Draft King, will take care of us like always. We're going to win the NFC Championship at least. I believe we have a Super Bowl in us within the next couple of years. Yeah, I'm thinking this year, could be a very good year for the Detroit Lions. So I agree with you there. Silver Surfer. And by the way, Coach, get your sleep. We don't want you to get burned out, especially in these downtimes. Hey, man, it's me. I don't sleep much, just never have, even as a kid, man. I get my 4 to 5 hours in. I'm good to go. I might need to do sometimes, but that's about it. But thank you for that, Surfer. All right, we got Dennis. Are they all in? You do too. Do it. Yeah. Are they all in? You do it. Okay, fair enough. Go all in on it. I like the way you're thinking, Dennis. All right, Ed. In the past, I would look at why other teams are going to cut. Yeah, who they were going to cut. Now I'm looking at who the Lions will cut. What a difference! And hey, this team is so deep. You're probably got the right perspective. All the teams are going to be looking specifically at the Detroit Lions roster, saying, watching those preseason games, this guy's going to get cut. What's our grade on him? But also keep in mind, while every team has scouts for the collegiate level, there are usually 3 scouts on the team's front office that all they do is watch the other teams. So when somebody does get cut, they already have a grades and assessments on them. And I got to imagine a lot of those scouts will be paying attention to the Lions this year because there are going to be some good players cut. All right, Thomas, greetings, salutations. We may lose Zettler or Ragnow next year. Time to grab a replacement. Yeah, and I think that's what Dr. D and a couple other people are kind of mentioning, is that's probably the inevitable future that's going to lie before for the Detroit Lions offensive line. So you're going to want to probably address it sooner versus later. Although in recent days, you have heard the Lions organization give a lot of praise to Corby Scoresdale, among other players on the offensive line. The only thing I would say is I usually take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt, just because, really, what do you expect somebody in the organization to say in the offseason about a player? They're going to say, all the right PC things. Hey, the kid's doing well, doing great, really developing. That's coach speak. All right, Mike Surtain is established and experienced. Why gamble on the unknown? That's kind of where I'm at with it. If you're going to trade up just for player 15, I mean, I guess it comes down to, it really depends on what your personal belief is on that player. I mean, do you really, in your scouts or whoever you're going by, you really believe that particular player that you're going to trade up and get is the real McCoy, the real deal, in the home run hitter, whatever, the Darth Vader of players or whatever? And that's where you just have to go with your own beliefs. If you think he's that guy, then fine, go for it. If you got any kind of questions, though, and if the trade can happen for, in this case, Surtain, I'd probably go with the established player that I know what I'm getting, especially if the trade is about the same. It'd be one thing if Surtain or whoever that player is exponentially older, but Surtain's only been in the league a couple of years. He's still on his rookie deal for 2 more years. Most NFL players really only last 3 to 5 years in the league. So if you feel like you can get 3 to 5 out of that particular player in the trade, I'd go for it, especially if you believe those years are all going to be high value years, which I would think at Surtain's age and level, they're probably realistic expectation. They would be high value years. Dennis Verse, yes, I think he would be a person of interest for sure. David, what do you got? The Lions need a top-notch towel boy. Man, I will apply for that today. I would be that dude. I got no problem with being the water boy. All right, Robert, it sure would be. Wouldn't it be Quentin Mitchell? Okay, fair enough. Take him off the board then. We'll get him out of here. Robert, let's see. Offensive line, defensive end, or wide receiver, just your opinion? Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. Answer 14. Are the player visits telling us what the Lions will do? Question mark. I think it's interesting. They have signed a CFL guy and also had a cornerback from the CFL in for a visit. That's a fair question to answer, 14, because you've seen them bring in, I don't know, I want to say like 5 or 6 different defensive backs. And is that smokescreen? Probably not. As far as, are they not targeting defensive back? Probably not. They probably are, but they probably are trying to be careful to make sure the teams aren't 100% sure who they want to get. And that's where I think, especially when you talk non-first round draft picks, that's where I think the fun begins, because I think you're trying to set up smoke screens so other teams aren't privy to who you actually want. So in layman's terms, I'm guessing the Lions are going to go for a defensive back. I'm just not convinced it's going to be a first round defensive back. I think it's probably more likely second or third round, etc. So we'll see. Dr. Trey, I agree with you, Mike. Fair enough. Sir Richard, great morning, buddy, and good morning to you too. Hopefully having a great one, Sir Richard. All right, Mike, Jared Verse, yes, he would be a person of interest without question on this. Drew, good morning, Dan, the Duke crew, exclamation point. How about we all, as fans, really get behind Goff from here on out, exclamation point. Because I honestly believe us fans can simply make Goff's ceiling elevate to heights we've never seen, exclamation point. And I agree with you. Before the information came out yesterday about the Sports Illustrated story, I was going to do a story in pertaining to aspects of Jared Goff, and maybe I'll still do it today, or if not, save it for tomorrow morning. I mean, you can never have enough good content, but I'll just say this without going into all of it. So so I have some stuff saved for another video. I think there's a real strong indication about some aspects about Goff that we should all consider and how it's impacting this franchise. So I'm with you on that, though, Drew. Support the guy. He's your quarterback. Make sure he feels like he's your quarterback. Mike the Marine, howdy, Dan, Lions faithful, back at you. Hope you have a great one, Mike, by the way. Ed, is 15 too high to pick Jackson Powers Johnson? Here's what I'd say, Ed. Everybody thought 12 was too high for running back or Gibbs last year, and I don't think anybody's thinking that anymore. We all, as fans, can have our own grades, and same with the national media or whatever, but that doesn't mean that's what NFL teams have grades on. And as we learn later in the year, there were a lot of other teams that were in the works to try to get Gibbs if he would have fallen one or two more spots. Lions clearly had some idea about that, so they drafted him then, got him. And even you can use the example of Jack Campbell. You know, when you watch the video, and I was surprised, real surprised, a couple weeks after the draft when they allowed this video to come out, but they do one on Tampa Bay, who picks right after Detroit did at 18. And you could see their guys talking about, hey, we like this guy, we like this guy. And they don't specifically reference who that guy is, but what they did is when Detroit selects Campbell, you see the response, the nonverbal response from people in that war room. And it's not like they were all hanging their head in doom and gloom or anything, but you could see that's who they wanted. And then they went out and I forget the kid's name, the defensive tackle, but they went out and got him. So obviously, in a nutshell, teams have their own grades, and it's usually not in line with our grades. So Jackson Powers Johnson, if you think he's the dude, he's going to be around for 2 contracts. Yeah, I probably wouldn't overthink it. If if you can get him at 21 versus 15, you may not have that opportunity. So get him at 15 if you really feel like he's going to be that guy for you. All right, Dennis, is Verse going to be there at 15? I don't know. It'd be close, I think. Him, Latua, I think there's some real possibility that they could go 10 to 15, but it also doesn't mean they couldn't go 15 to 20. So it really just comes down to how the board falls. They're both going to be in about that range. How about that, Dennis? All right, Fields, what do you got? Always in Brad we trust. I'll go with that 100%. I concur. O'Neill or Edward or Eduardo, let's go Lions 100%. And good morning to you, buddy. Good morning, Coach and Duke and crew. Going to need all the do I need. Fair enough. Rough night for you, early morning. Well, hopefully you embrace it and go stop by a local Circle K. Pick yourself up 79 cents plus tax, 82 cents. Mountain Dew, man. I am a high supporter of them, and how I haven't got an endorsement deal from Mountain Dew or Circle K yet is a mystery to me. Rocky at 15 should be able to pick up Verse, but Brad gets D in free agency, then drafts offense first. Will he change? No, I think you got a good correlation there, Rock. He does seem to do it as the way you suggested. Free agency, he's going to go after defense. And then draft, try to probably save money, plus get higher impact players with not as much wear on them or on their the tread hasn't come off the tire, so to speak. Yeah, go do that in the draft. Polar Bear, when you pick at 32, that trade compensation is a good deal. Yeah, I think if you can trade back to 32 because somebody wants to go up and get I don't know, quarterback or whatever else with a 5th-year option, that's where I think you can really win. And I know in the mock that I ran myself, as far as what I would do, I traded down twice from 29 to I think it was 32 and then 32 to 34 because the values really favored the team at that point. Bo, good Sunday, do crew, Superdome or bust, exclamation point, certain, exclamation point, question marks. Yeah, and I know, Bo, that I'm on board with them. If they can go get them, assuming they don't have to, egregiously overpay, just, we're going to have to probably wait until draft day to see if that's going to happen for Detroit. All right, Eduardo, I'm going to hold my judgment until the end of day 3. I am excited for this draft, but I don't want them to do is the same thing they did last year and ignored the D-line. Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what Brad chooses to do with it. Eduardo, let's hope that once again Brad doesn't ignore the defense, 100%. Mike, what do you got? Nobody from Alabama O-line impressed me at all in the college football playoffs. There you go. And I get that totally, man. Doug, I'm more inclined to trade up from picks 73 and 61. Just want to move closer to 45 or 50 so we can have more of an eventual starter or injury replacement. Look at CD Deuce and Mosley last year. Ragnow, question mark. Now, I like the way you're thinking, man, 100%. Real quick, before I forget, SI, not this really has anything to do with anything, but Sports Illustrated story where they had the Lions trading up to 15. I did take note, too, that they also had the Lions, and again, not that it has anything to do with anything, in round 3, taking my boy, Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan. So I know that will make Broski real happy. Bully Bear, you could review the roster, Coach Dan, maybe offense on day 1 and defense on the next. We have a lot of new players to talk about. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. After the draft, yeah, go ahead and especially once we have the draft picks in, that's not a bad idea. Dr. Detroit, great point, Dan. I'm not sure what it was, but I'll go with that. So thanks for that, Dr. D. Try not to let it go to my head. All right, Ed, what do you got? I'm watching the Michigan Panthers today. I want to see another 60-plus yard field goal. And did you see the 64-yarder he kicked is now on its way to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And I know there were some people who were saying, wait a minute, he doesn't play in the NFL. But keep in mind, it is the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not the NFL Hall of Fame. So I got you there. And, yeah, kudos to him. Hopefully Bates keeps doing it. All right, Robert G. But look at the spectacular Alabama players we have acquired in the last 2 years, exclamation point. Just saying, at Mike, yeah, they have. But I also get that maybe some of the offensive line aren't their strongest players. Eduardo, anyone have plans for today? Question mark. Let's have a great one. 100%. Make it a great one. I'm going to be working and then doing taxes all night tonight. So, yes, it is tax day for me. Eduardo, thank you for all you do, Coach. 100%, man. I enjoy it. And thank you all for being a part of my everyday, man. Again, thank you very much. Oh, real quick, if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you're watching the video, whether it's live or replay, if you would be so kind, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be great. That would be really great to help out the channel and the video. All right, 9 Drinks. Ed, where can we see that game? It should be, as far as Michigan Panthers, I'm not sure who carries it, so maybe somebody in the chat can throw that out there. All right, Robert G., in my opinion, Alabama has great players across the board. They do. They'd have some of the best in all of college football. Rocky, if not verse, I see, Jackson Powers Johnson. Dennis, yes. Eduardo, should either be on Fox or ESPN. There you go. Scott, you should do a show on what team was better, 92 Lions or the 2024 Lions. I'll go with that. That'd be something to do after the draft, and maybe a couple different videos on stuff like that, Scott. So not a bad idea. Don, ban the woo. Stop. All right. If enough people want the woo gone, I will stop the woo. But if you don't put it in the chat, then I don't have to read it. So there's also that as well. Sorry, Don. I knew that would get to you. Let's see. Eduardo, apparently the Lions have until Thursday to get in all of their top 30 visits. So they still have 19 players to bring in. It'll be a very busy next couple days. Yeah, and that's if they use all of them. Which I don't think they usually do, but they do have the right to do that. So good call on that, Eduardo. Rick, I sure hope Brad doesn't trade back in the first round. I hate to fly into the Big D and not get to see the Lions' first pick opening night, exclamation point, hoping we trade up. That, Rick, I think you got a legitimate worry there. I hope we trade up because to me, that's being the more assertive general manager, trying to get just a couple of very specific players. But I also get that's not what Brad Holmes typically does. I think there is at least a 50-50 chance the Lions trade back. Uncle Buzz, way crack down on offensive holding to even up the offense versus defense advantage. Yeah, that would be nice. I think the problem is the NFL views it this way. They'd rather let the holdings go at least somewhat to protect quarterbacks from getting smoked. And that just seems the way things have gone. All right, Rocky, what do you got? Brad isn't getting smoky in this draft room. Okay, fair enough. Woo! There's a quieter woo for you, Donnie Brown. I'm doing that just for you. And thanks for that, Rock. Doug, could easily see Lions trading back to 33, picking up 101, first pick in the fourth round, and first pick in round 2. That first on day 2 and first on day 3. Think of the hype, getting that fourth back too. Yes, that could be something. I think there's real potential if the right players slip down to 29. The Lions could get a pretty decent trade offer or two for them. So the more people offer, hey, the more that price goes up. The more different teams that make offers, the price goes up. Eduardo, what I would do to be in the war room on day 1. Yeah, what would you do? Yeah, you'd be able to hear a whole lot of things. And again, I'll try to do a little bit of a breakdown. Just what's it like being in one of those places? What do you see? What's some of the processes? And every team's different. So don't, when I do the video on it, don't take it as the Holy Bible. Well, you said this guy should be sitting here and this guy should be sitting there. It doesn't work like that. All right, Eduardo, fair enough. All right. 49ers also have a very elite pass rush. They do. Eduardo, you can get away with everything if you have an elite pass rush. There you go. Eduardo, Lions pass rush is average at best. Yeah, that's one thing they really need to, in my opinion, address. J-Rod, good morning, Coach and Sunday Dew crew. Woo! Keeping it silent for you there, Don. Easy like Sunday morning. Lionel Richie, yes, it is a nice, easy day for you. Seeker, don't forget to like and subscribe 100%. And if you guys can help out with that, man, that would be great. If everybody's just watching, we've got, looks like, 500 something watching right now live. If you guys could just all hit the thumbs up button, man, we'll smash that gold. All right, Robert, for sure, thumbs up. Coach deserves it. He's awesome. Thank you. No, and you're awesome. You guys, everybody watching, you guys are out here grinding and doing the show every day. I really am appreciative because you know what? I enjoy doing this show to death. All right, Michael, Malik Neighbors, by LSU, Romeo, boy, I'm going to kill his last name, Washington, Brian Thomas Jr., LSU. Okay, yeah, all good players to consider for sure. Robert G, the song Anticipation, it's making me wait. LOL for the draft, 100%. Michael, Jeers, Nares, Newton may be there still at that spot. He's intriguing. He is an intriguing one. Yes, Newton, yeah, would not be a bad one. There's a couple guys that could be there. There's so many different options that could go, especially if they have the expected run on quarterback in the top 10, wide receiver in the top 15. Those start to happen, then some really sound offensive line, defensive players are going to get pushed to roughly that 15 spot. All right, Eduardo, would you consider trading up before the draft for a guy you would wait? Or would you wait until the draft night to see how long guys last before trading up? I guess the easy answer for that, Eduardo, would be this. Let's just say it's the trade up scenario is 15. If you felt there were 4 players that you would be happy with getting at that spot, I would trade it before the draft. Because, and here's my logic, if you wait till the draft day and some of those better players start slipping to that spot, that's probably going to drive the price tag up because you're probably not the only team targeting them. So I would go before the draft thinking I'm going to save draft capital by doing it then versus, hey, we're at pick 13 and everybody sees these, 2 guys there. Those are your dudes, or one guy is at 15. Other teams start getting into the conversation. The price of that trade just went through the roof. Or I'd be happy if I never see Scoresdale take a snap again. There are going to be some people like that. I like the guy. I just think, hey, he was a typical rookie and probably in over his head at a position he wasn't great at. But I think he can make some real strides. Hopefully he does. All right, Barberline Lions, what do you got? Troy Franklin, wide receiver, Oregon, 6'3", and a speedster. I'd like him already. Let's put him on. Let's make it happen. But here's my question: where would you draft him at? Which round? Let's see. Bo, Decker, and Ragnar replacement is needed for the future. I agree with that 100%. Eduardo, still don't believe they took them four full series in the Green Bay game to take out Scoresdale. Like, dude was getting worked from the beginning. Yeah, he was in over his head, and he played better in other games, just not that game. Robert, good morning, Bo. There you go. Eduardo, true stubbornness, if you ask me. Eduardo, that's the one thing about our coaching staff. They seem very stubborn. They do it at times. What is the one thing you'd want to see our coaching staff fix for next year? Just faster in-game adjustments for me. I think both offense and defense struggle with that. Other than that, I guess the only other thing I'd say is I would like more assertiveness on defense, but I do think that's where Aaron Glenn was trending by the end of the season. Really, the last, say, 5 or 6 games, that's just who they became. To me, that would be our MO throughout the entire game. We're going to go after you all the time. I don't care if it's 4th and 17 or 2nd and 2. We're gonna come after you on every play. Eduardo, if they trade up for a wide receiver and the top defensive players are still on the board, this fan base will go nuclear. Fair enough. Mike the Marine, elite players on offense or defense. Let's cause teams sleepless nights. I agree. And yeah, I think that offense, if they do go, and I know there's been talk about, Bowers and other wide receivers and stuff like that, even though he's more of a tight end. There is something to be said about one side of the ball just being so dominant that it's almost undefensible. But I do think if it was me, if I'm going offensive player around 15, it's probably going to be for the offensive line. Dennis, if Sweat drops to day 3, do we take a flyer on him? I guess it depends on what your research department has found out about the DUI and all that stuff. But if it's me, yeah, I would. If that's all it was is, hey, somebody made a stupid decision. He was 21-year-old kid, went out to the club, had a few main drinks and drove. I'd like to say he was the only person ever that did that on a college campus, but I think most of us realize that's not the case. I do try to also remember that if it's a one-off, that's a learning opportunity. If you find out he's done it like 10, 20 times, then that's a normalcy. And I would just say at that point, probably avoid him. But if it's a one-time thing, and everything else checks the boxes, I'm probably not holding it against them. All right, Mike, could they be thinking about Cooper DeJean there, especially considering the new kickoff rules? That's not a bad call, Mike. I think you'll see a lot of teams experiment with different stuff on the new kickoff stuff. And I think if you've got good blocking up front and the right return setup, yeah, you could see some real damage being done, especially this year. After that, teams are going to figure it out. They're going to adjust. They're going to make some corrections to it. But the first year, I think that's where you could really strike gold with the new kickoff rule. All right, Rocky, boring draft means we filled the trenches. Yeah, I'll go with that, man. Yeah, 100%. Phil, hit the like button. Thank you for that, Phil. JK, hey, like for the Do Crew, 100%. A like for the channel is a like for the Do Crew. Phil, 24 Lions. All right, we'll go with that. Rocky, Panthers, ABC noon. There you go. Phil, more woo. There you go. Phil, more woo, better than more cowbell. There you go. Need more cowbell. Polar Bear, I meant pick 32 in 2025. That means we won the Super Bowl. I'll go with that. Yes, if you have pick 32, you have won the Super Bowl. Phil, the Do Crew guitar is coming. I'm liking that. I'm liking it. Can't wait to see it. 9 Drinks. Woo! Is a staple of the channel. It is 100%. Polar Bear, offensive holding should be a 5-yard penalty. Give the refs less impact on the game. All right, we'll go with that. Ed, Mr. Ed, Panthers on CBS, WJXX, Channel 25 out of Jacksonville, Florida. I'm in Florida. There you go. Robert G, that's a great idea. At Polar Bear, I would agree with that. Manberg, for sure, the show needs more cowbell. There we go. We'll work on that. Mike the Marine, Dan, put on his woo do for a great show. I always try to. Don Burr, ban the woo. There you go. Dan, I got bad news, man. I think the woo could potentially be a staple of the show. The people have spoken. All right, JK, there you go. Sticky finger, too early for woo. There are some people that would believe that. I think Don Burr may be leading the charge for the too early for the woo show. All right, Robert, Woo! There we go. I'll try to be a little bit more silent. Ban the woo. Too early to be screaming. There you go. Gary, Lions need to start stacking picks for next year, like New England did in their heyday. They did. Gary, good morning, Dew Crew. Good morning, Gary. Hopefully having a great one. Robert G, the early bird catches the woo. Don, there you go. I like that. Don, not impressed. JK, put some earplugs on. Don Burr, there you go. Robert, have a great day. All get outside. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. Well, enjoy your day, Robert, whatever you do with it. Ban the woos. There you go. Polar Bear, I traded up to 40 in the mock yesterday. Might be a good spot for Franklin. I took cornerback Max Melton after taking Jackson Powers Johnson at 29. Man Bear, Don, you can drink yourself out of that hangover. There you go. Drink. It's too early. It's an early yes. Yeah, here you go. Don, there you go. It's too early for the drinks. All right, Man Bear smiling. Polar Bear replace woo with a Polar Bear wow. There you go. LOL, the quad. Wow. There you go. Nine drinks. Don Burr is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. JDC, one coyote yell on 3. There you go. All right, guys. Almost an hour in, so I'll go ahead and get things going. If there is some breaking news later today, I'll try to get to you as quick as possible. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. We're about 40 or so subs away from hitting 6,400. So if you can help out with that, that'd be great. Otherwise, if you would be so kind, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.